The Iran-Israel war was supposed to end quickly. But Israel just revealed something shocking. According to the Israeli military, this war could last at least 3 more weeks, and they say there are still thousands of targets left to strike inside Iran. Today is March 16, 2026, day 17 of the conflict. And what happens during the next 3 weeks could trigger the largest oil shock the world has seen in decades. Let's break down what is happening. The new timeline. Let's start with the timeline. On March 15, Israeli military spokesperson Efi Defrin revealed that Israel is preparing for at least 3 more weeks of military operations against Iran. We are already on day 17 of the war. If Israel's timeline is correct, the fighting could continue well into early April. But the most striking detail is this. The Israeli military says there are still thousands of targets remaining inside Iran. In just the past day alone, Israeli forces reported striking more than 200 targets across western and central Iran. These include command centers, air defense systems, weapon storage sites, and military production facilities. This suggests the campaign is not designed as a quick strike. Instead, it is becoming a methodical military operation aimed at weakening Iran's military infrastructure. And that brings us to the location that could determine how this war unfolds. Karg Island. That location is Karg Island. This small island in the Persian Gulf handles around 90 to 95% of Iran's crude oil exports. Last year alone, Iran exported about 1.7 million barrels of oil per day through this single facility. In simple terms, Karg Island is Iran's economic lifeline. Recently, the United States announced that its forces had carried out a major bombing raid targeting military installations on the island. However, the oil infrastructure itself was not targeted. The warning from Washington was clear. If Iran interferes with ships in the Strait of Hormuz, that decision could change. And if Karg Island stops operating, Iran's oil exports could collapse almost overnight. Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most strategically important waterways on Earth. This narrow passage between Iran and Oman carries 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil used in the world. Under normal conditions, around 21 million barrels of oil pass through this strait every day. But right now, normal conditions no longer exist. Iran's leadership has called for the continued closure of the strait and warned that new fronts could open against the United States and Israel. If the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked, the consequences for the global economy could be enormous. And the United States is already preparing a response. The coalition problem. Washington has demanded that several major economies help secure shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Countries mentioned include Japan, South Korea, Britain, and France. The idea is to form a multinational naval coalition to escort oil tankers safely through the region. But forming that coalition may be harder than it sounds. Many governments are hesitant. Sending warships could pull them directly into the war. Their vessels could become targets for Iranian missiles or drones. And some countries still depend on trade with Iran and fear retaliation. This means the situation in the Gulf remains extremely fragile. The regional spread. And the conflict is already spreading beyond Iran and Israel. Across the Gulf region, attacks are becoming more frequent. Drones have targeted airports. Missiles have struck military bases. Air defense systems are intercepting threats almost daily. These incidents show that the war is no longer confined to a single battlefield. It is gradually becoming a regional conflict. What happens next? Right now, 3 timelines are colliding. Timeline 1 is the war itself. Israel says the military campaign against Iran could continue for at least 3 more weeks, with thousands of targets remaining. Timeline 2 is the Strait of Hormuz. Iran insists the strait should remain closed, while the United States pushes to reopen it. Timeline 3 is the global economy. Every day that the strait remains disrupted, oil prices rise and supply chains begin to strain. Energy officials have already warned that the current disruption could trigger a major global energy shock. And that means the next few weeks could determine far more than just the outcome of this war. The next 3 weeks could decide whether this remains a regional war or turns into a global economic crisis. If you want to stay updated on the biggest geopolitical developments shaping the world today, subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.